that's I hope that's something that evolves as the season goes on, frankly, because I don't think if you get to the playoffs against good defenses, I'm not sure that's a
I don't think
strategy I want to go
I'm
with.
honestly, Les, I don't think it's evolving, but here's the
Yeah.
difference, and I think this is the coaches more than Jalen Hurts, and that's what Shane said as well. They're the ones who have to be disciplined. So
Yeah.
instead of it being AJ Brown first progression, Dallas Goedert second progression every single time, they got to mix it up and say, no, I got to be disciplined. This is Devonta. Devonta on this play.
You got your Mega Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald here on Birds 365, and we are joined by Les Bowen, who looks like gone outside. That's why he's got a jacket on.
It's a nice morning. Yeah, it's chilly.
Little nip in the air. How are you this morning, Mr. Bowen?
Yeah, I'm great, guys. Yeah, I went out here to the back porch. Actually, I had a really light, short sleeve shirt on, and it was too cold, so I ran in and grabbed a jacket.
Amazing.
It's a nice thing after this weather we've had lately.
Yeah, well, you won't need that jacket later. I think it's going to be 90 on Monday, Les. So we're not past it.
Yeah.
But it was nice to wake up to a little chill. I enjoyed it. You've been getting a chill on Twitter that I've been enjoying over the past couple of days. Les, I don't know how you do it, man, because I've gotten a lot of stuff. This is mute season for me. I can't take it. I just hit the mute button. But you give it back. I've been doing this for a long time. You've been doing this for a long time. I'm still, and I blame myself for this. I am amazed at the overreaction after week one. It is unbelievable to me. We got Jonathan Gannon fired.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts is this. Jalen Hurts. You have these two camps with Jalen Hurts. Spectacular. Won that game in my estimation for the Eagles, and that's been one of the discussions. Can Jalen Hurts win a game? Well, he just won a game, but he didn't do it the right way, right? Because he ran the football too many times. So where are we with this team and the overreaction? Your thoughts on that?
I think that's often the case with week one. I don't think people expected the game to go the way it did. I kind of thought it would be a close game. I didn't think it would be 38-35, but I didn't think they were the Lions, aren't the 3-13-1 team they were last year. I think most of us realized that, but I'm not sure many fans did. But anyway, what happened with me is really silly, and it's instructive of the dangers of getting into extended debates on Twitter, which I should never do. My wife says I spend too much time on that, and it really is a waste of time and energy. But I wrote a column for NJ.com about Jalen Hurts, and I did. I was working I asked Nick Sirianni about Hurts getting hit on those slides, which people were up in arms about. And Nick explained, this bothers me a lot too, but in fact, the rule is that if the defender is kind of, committed to tackling him or, moving forward when the slide starts, he's allowed to hit him. And, I sort of use that as a jumping off point to say 17 runs is nuts. Yes, they won the game. Yes, he played very well, but we're kind of looking for a different sort of offense this year, and we didn't really see it in game one. It's not, there's no subtlety on Twitter or on the internet.
No, there is not.
I wasn't like standing atop the battlement waving the flag of this all sucks and, what the hell's going on. It was like, hey, this is, they want to have an offense where Devonta Smith catches a pass. I don't think that's a controversial position.
No.
But I kind of got in a back and forth. Jeff Mosher, who's a very good reporter and a good friend, wrote kind of a counter thing saying, yeah, they're going to keep running the ball with Jalen Hurts because they have to play to his strengths. And I was like, here's my thing. A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith, these are guys that I know the Eagles want to build around for the next several years, right?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, maybe they want to build around him for the next several years, and maybe they don't. They have those 2 first-round draft picks next year for a reason. I wouldn't build anything around – if I have those guys, my offense is going to be tailored to their strengths. So it kind of was a point between me and Jeff. And he made some very good points, and we actually texted with each other, and our positions weren't as far off as they might have appeared initially. But I said something on Twitter along the lines of, if your quarterback can't play to the strengths of A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert, then maybe he's not your quarterback. And people just got, oh my Lord, you'd have thought I'd insulted Jalen Hurts' mother and said that he'd never win another game and he was the worst quarterback in the league and I'm a racist and it was unbelievable. And I probably overstated, but I got a little too wound up in my argument. My initial fairly modest point is the week 1 offense is not going to, get them to the Super Bowl. They are not going to score 31 points plus a pick 6 from the defense against good defenses with Jalen Hurts running for his life and them not picking up any blitzes and Devonta Smith not catching any passes.
Yeah, see, you finally touched on it, Les. And I think it is the point that has gone under-talked about, under-reported, under-evaluated. The Lions blitzed a lot.
Yeah, they did.
John, if you know how to look it up, I'd suggest that they might have blitzed more than anyone else in the National Football League in week number 1. And the Eagles weren't great at picking it up. He was under pressure way too often. I thought the offensive line, mano a mano, the 5 guys up front were fine. But in blitz pickup and being able to recognize when it's coming and where it's coming from, not great. So that lent itself to Jalen Hurts taking off as often as he did. What would you rather have him do? Just fall to his knees and take a sack? That doesn't do any good. Why not take off and try and make a play with your legs? So Jalen had to do that on several occasions during the game. So,
no, I'm not suggesting that he didn't have
the Eagles planned every single run he did. No, they didn't. The Lions had a hand in that with as much as they blitzed.
Yeah, but they have to pick up those blitzes. He has to recognize them coming, which I'm not sure he did a great job of.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to say that, Les. Part of that, when you have an unaccounted for rusher, that's on the quarterback to get the football out a lot of times. So there's a give and take of
or call an audible or something. But sometimes what looked like a blitz wasn't really a blitz. Sometimes they were just running games and stunts up front, and the Eagles weren't picking those up either. I mean, this is kind of. I don't dislike Nick Sirianni's plan of not playing the starters much in the preseason and having kind of an easygoing training camp because injuries are the bottom line. In the NFL, you can ask people in Dallas how that goes.
Yeah.
But there's a trade-off, and they like to pretend there isn't. They'll still all this week they've been asked about, were you guys, a little not ready because of the preseason? And so, oh, no, we had a lot of practice time, blah, 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 blah. That's a bunch of crap. It is a long-range strategy. It's a strategy for the 17-game season. It's not a strategy for the opener. And they ought to just admit that,
Yeah, I don't know why it's so difficult.
They got through it, but they were not as prepared as the Lions physically and, timing-wise.
By the way, Les, I'm with you. I don't know why they just don't admit it. 14 missed tackles tells you all you need to know. But it was interesting because Dan Campbell the day after was complaining about his team's tackling. So it is now the Eagles were the worst. Nobody had more missed tackles, but it is a problem throughout the league, and that's part of the CBA and the collective bargaining. Nobody can practice as much as they want to, but the Eagles practice less than they are allowed to. To me, that's the difference, and it's certainly a long-term strategy. I agree with you there. But to button up this Jalen Hurts thing, were you, I don't want to say surprised, but Shane Steichen went on record. Jonathan Gannon got all the press this week. But Shane Steichen said, it's basically one progression, two progression, go. That's all it is. So when you start, and I think when fans start thinking about, well, if AJ's not open, if Dallas is not open, you got to go to Jalen Hurts. That's not what this offense is. So
that's a good point, and that kind of went right over my head, to tell you the truth, John. I wasn't really focusing on that. Like everybody else, I've written 2 pieces about Jonathan Gannon this week.
Yeah,
but
and we'll get to that, by the way.
Yeah, that's. I hope that's something that evolves as the season goes on, frankly, because I don't think if you get to the playoffs against good defenses, I'm not sure that's a strategy I want to go with.
Honestly, Les, I don't think it's evolving, but here's the difference. And I think this is the coaches more than Jalen Hurts. And that's what Shane said as well. They're the ones who have to be disciplined. So instead of it being A.J. Brown, first progression, Dallas Goedert, second progression, every single time, they got to mix it up and say, no, I got to be disciplined. This is Devonta on this play, even Quez Watkins. And that kind of, will free you up from defenses keying on 1 or 2 guys. So I think that's about Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen, not Jalen Hurts. And that's what Shane said. I don't want him thinking about that. In fact, Shane Steichen said, that's on me. That's on me. He's designed to get the football to A.J. Brown. And by the way, if they're not covering A.J. Brown, I'm fine with it. Keep throwing it to him. Yeah.
But again, if 15 targets a game, somebody's going to figure out how to blanket, sandwich, do something with A.J. Brown. B, somebody's going to hurt A.J. Brown, even though he's built like Superman.
I know. It's amazing.
I'm not sure about that one, Les.
Yeah. Well, everybody gets hurt. He's right. But, it's hard to imagine A.J. again. But he got hurt last year in Tennessee. So it happens. Yeah.
All right, let's flip it over to the defensive side of the ball. That was a mess. John mentioned the missed tackles, and they were the leading missed tackling team in the National Football League. And Jonathan Gannon, you go him on the carpet all you want. If they tackle the way they tackled, Jonathan Gannon's system's not going to work. But his system wasn't great last week. And, he got a lot of attention for it, and he should. What kind of adjustments do you think he makes this week against Minnesota?
Well, it's interesting, guys. I have a piece this morning where I point out that, and it's still true, the last time I looked a little while ago, somebody got into Jonathan's Wikipedia.
I saw that. Yeah. Somebody is Wikipedia.
Some unkind things about his coaching. It's they have to do a lot different this week. And I'm a little bit pessimistic about getting all this fixed. You go down there and they say, oh, yeah, we can, just a few adjustments. Other than some decent pass coverage, they didn't do anything well in Detroit. They didn't rush the passer. They didn't get pressure. They didn't stop the run. They didn't come close to stopping the run. And Fletcher Cox is talking yesterday about, it was really just 3 plays. Well, that's the way runs work a lot of times. That was often the case when LaShawn McCoy played for the Eagles. It wasn't like he went out there and gained 20 yards a carry. It was he would run for 40 yards and then maybe they'd stop him for a loss or something. You can't just say with that, that's nuts to say, except for 3 plays. I don't know. I was expecting, I know they've got 5 new starters. And they didn't play together in the preseason. But I just didn't see – he was in 4-man fronts a lot against the run.
Yeah, that was strange.
5-man fronts. Yeah. They admitted that when they got the 17-point lead, they thought Detroit was just going to pass all the time, and Detroit didn't feel the need to do that and didn't need to do that. I don't know what we're going to see against Minnesota and Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. And Kirk Cousins, who has a very – Kirk Cousins is not an elite quarterback, but
he's an elite thrower.
He's had a great If he only played against the Eagles, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. He has done very, very well against the Eagles with Washington and with Minnesota. And it's going to be, I think the fans are kind of expecting everything to be fixed, and the emotion is just going to run the Vikings out of the stadium Monday night. But they've got a long way to go in practice this week to get to where they can really compete with the team that came out week 1 and played real well.
All right, I'm gonna throw some rare optimism at you, Les. If I said to you 14 missed tackles turns into 4 missed tackles, the Eagles probably win that game by 17, 20 points. That's a pretty easy fix. We just talked about the preparation. You would think as the season wears on, guys get more used to it. The first 2 games is the new preseason. As long as they tackle a little bit better, everything should be fine. But is that too optimistic?
Can I ask a question? We all agree the Eagles' defensive line did not play well on Sunday, right? No. Just as a whole, we can make that statement. Defensive line did not play well on Sunday. And you say with more preparation and better tackling, they can be that much better. How much work did Fletcher, Sweat, and BG get in yesterday at practice?
No, and by the way, that's going to continue. That's the plan for those particular players all year, to keep them as healthy as possible.
So the continuation of preseason, less is more, is going to continue into the regular season, despite the fact that 3 key pieces on a unit that all 3 of us agree played like spit on Sunday. Yeah, go ahead, take the day off, boys. Hey, a little rest for you.
Load management.
Load management coming your way. Really?
Is
that what you're telling me, Johnny Mac? Is that what you're basing your optimism on? The 3 guys on the offensive line that sucked on Sunday?
Look,
take the day off in the middle of the week?
When it comes to Fletcher and Javon, they didn't play well, and they got to play better. But the missed tackles, a lot of it was C.J. Gardner-Johnson. A lot of it was Avonte Maddox. A lot of it was Kaiser White. Back-end defenders.
Bradbury missed the one big one, too.
Bradbury was involved.
Groach yesterday was burying Bradbury. Bradbury didn't play all that bad. He missed that one tackle. That was a really bad play, but he didn't play badly in coverage.
With the missed tackles.
Yeah.
Okay, to me, there's different kinds of missed tackles. If you're in position and you have your arms around the guy and he gets out of your grasp, that's certainly a fixable missed tackle. If a missed tackle is you being a step or a step and a half off from where you should be and you're reaching for the guy and he blows through your arm, that's a missed tackle, but you weren't there. I see guys miss tackles like that, and it's because they can't get to where they need to be to make the tackle. And I don't know. I hope that's not the case this week, but it was kind of the case a little bit in the opener, I thought. A lot of kind of reach and, hey, come back, over here. I'm over here, kind of tackling.
Well, I always joke, Les, that nobody cares about the running game until they care about the running game. So they don't even talk about it in the offseason. Nobody talks about it. And then Detroit shows up week 1. It usually doesn't happen to December, to be honest, but they show up week 1 and say, we're going to run it down your throat. We have a good offensive line. We have a good running back. Mm-hmm. And they run it down their throat. Hassan Reddick, undersized. Yeah. Kaiser White, undersized. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, undersized, moving from nickel to safety. Is that a potential issue?
Oh, yeah, I think it is. I mean, even Fletcher Cox, at this point in his career, Fletcher's kind of a pass rush specialist. He's not – he was horrible against the run Sunday. And it was mostly because he was looking to get upfield and rush the passer. They're not set up to stop the run unless Jordan Davis is in there. And that was a big issue this week, the number of snaps he got. Could he have played more? Gannon came up with that. Well, I have 5 defensive tackles and I have to get them all snaps like it's
no, you don't.
Like it's Little League and the parents are going to yell at him or something if everybody doesn't get the same number. No. If Fletcher Cox is posting a 39.6 score against the run, according to Pro Football Focus. And stopping the run is what you have to do to win the game. Maybe you have Fletcher go stand next to you for a while and play Jordan Davis, And that's something we're going to keep an eye on here, because Howie Roseman's paying Fletch $14 million this year, and he's paying Javon Hargrave $12.5 million this year. And do they get the bulk of the snaps just for that, or because they're playing better than Williams and Davis? I don't know.
And Marlon, who played a lot, surprisingly, in game number 1. All right, question for both you guys. John just said Kirk Cousins is a franchise thrower of the football. Might not be a franchise quarterback, but a franchise thrower, elite thrower. So does that mean Jordan Davis is going to get his 20 snaps again? Because the overall game plan going in is we expect Kirk Cousins to throw a lot. Dalvin Cook did carry it 20 times last week. Pretty damn good running back as well. What do you think the Eagles are thinking the Vikings are going to do before the game ever starts?
Boy, I don't know. But one thing struck fear in my heart yesterday, John, at those press conferences. Was it Darius Slay or it was someone else who talked about we just have to – they're a big play team, and we have to make sure we don't give up any big plays.
That's always – they're –
because that was the thing from last year. That was last year's defensive scheme, was don't give up big plays. And the Eagles were very good at that. I think they were like 5th in the league. The problem, as every fan noticed and got really annoyed with Jonathan Gannon, was they played the corners, 15 yards off the line of scrimmage and gave up a first down whenever anybody wanted one, all the way down the field, over and over and over and over again, to avoid giving up big plays. And I sure hope that's not their idea in dealing with Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook this week, is we'll just move back and keep them in front of us.
Yeah, that's my concern as well, because if you go back to last season, the Derek Carrs and the Tom Brady's and the really accurate quarterbacks and really patient quarterbacks, they'll say, hey, if you're going to give me this, I'm going to take this. If it takes me 15 plays, it takes me 15 plays. They're going to continue to complete those passes. I'm a little bit concerned with that as well, but I want to talk less about Jonathan Gannon as a whole. Boy, man, that guy is taking it. I got a bunch of fire him after week 1. You mentioned the Wikipedia stuff. What exactly the fans expect to do? If you want to fire the guy, you got to fire him in the offseason. You're not going to fire him after week 1. And
no, that's kind of nuts. Nobody's going to fire him right now. But there was a lot that fans didn't like last season about his approach.
Yeah.
And I think week 1 sort of brought back the bad taste of everything fans didn't like about last season and his defense. And after making all these improvements, they were expecting the improvements to just sort of, automatically show up. And, again, we're talking about guys that didn't work together in the preseason. You and I talked several weeks ago, I think, about with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and these other guys, in the secondary, there's a lot of knowing what the other guy is going to do in a certain situation. And, it's not just, you don't have to go out there and just play.
Yeah.
And, there's that defense needs a lot of cohesiveness that it doesn't have right now. Is that a problem that will just work itself out? Or is it bad design? And that could be a real problem if it's bad design.
The Vikings beat a major in-division opponent, Green Bay, handily in week 1, number 1. So they got to come in here with a pretty good level of confidence, even with a first-year coach. And I thought he did a nice job with play calling and everything else last week. How much does emotion play in this game? Week 2, on the road for the Vikings, home for the Eagles. And John believed that had a big influence on week 1 in the NFL. Will it show itself again in week number 2? How much is emotion tied to this game on Sunday, Les?
That's an interesting question. The Vikings are coming off a huge victory over their most hated rivals. That was a real big deal for them. Now, maybe they're a mature enough team that, week 2 in Philly is going to be just as big a deal. Maybe it isn't. Maybe they'll be sloppier. As good as they looked, there was like a rookie receiver for the Packers was open by like 10 yards.
Yeah, Christian Watson.
And dropped a bomb that would have been a touchdown early. It's not like the Vikings suddenly are the best team in the league or anything like that. They are a good team, I think, a decent team. Emotion will be very interesting. You don't want the Eagles to be overhyped and be, false starting and taking silly personal fouls and things like that. I think there will be a lot of emotion at the Link because the home fans are very cranked up about this season. And it is Monday Night Football and the home opener. And, it'll be emotion will play a role. It can go either way, whether it's a good thing to have or whether you get to at least Derek Barnett won't be
poor Derek
taking 15 yards.
ACL,
but it's a factor in this game. There's no doubt about it.
At Les Bowen, NJ.com, read them there these days. Tremendous piece. Finding the quick Wikipedia edits on Jonathan Gannon. Interesting piece from Les this morning. I'll leave you with this, Les. Jody wants to talk about emotion. I want to talk about motion. Okay. The Eagles don't do it, by and large.
The Vikings do.
Kevin O'Connell has brought the Rams sort of philosophy, the illusion of complexity. He has brought that. I saw Justin Jefferson lining up in the backfield. It's like a Where's Waldo thing. You got to find him before you can cover him. They've had some success against the Rams. They've also looked really, really bad. I remember talking to Jim Schwartz about all the movement. He was like, alignment, assignment, that coaching. But when you lose sort of your head, your eyes, you can look really silly against all that motion. Do you think that will affect the Eagles, especially early in the season?
Boy, that's a good question, John. When we went to Cleveland for those joint practices, one of the things Eagles defensive players said was it'll be interesting because they use motion and we'll have to work against that. And we don't get to work against that in our practices.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck with me. This is not something the Eagles defense is really looking at on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that could be an interesting thing. Surely they're going to be like all over that, but who knows? One would hope they're going to be all over that.
Well, I think John made his point, and Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni got word that the Eagles don't use enough motion, because I recall at least 3 times in game 1, Jalen Hurts waving a guy with under 3 seconds on the play clock. I'm going, wait, how are you not set? Yeah. Do you see the clock? There's 3 seconds. Snap the ball. So I think they were listening to John that they don't do enough motion. So
we all listen to John.
More motion week 1 than they did maybe in any of the 17 games last year. That's just my observation. I don't know if it's accurate or not. All right, let's go. Last thing. I'm going to need a prediction out of you. Not on who's going to win the game. Not on the final score. On an over-under. Number of catches by Jalen Reagor. No. Number of targets for Jalen Reagor. Doesn't have to be a catch, just a target.
How about more catches, Devonta Smith or Jalen Reagor?
That's too easy. I'm going to set it at 1.5. Will Jalen Reagor have the ball thrown to him 2 times or less in the game Sunday against the Eagles?
Well, that's a pretty low, target you're setting there.
Yes, 1.5 is the target number. But that's up from the 0 that it was week 1. Yeah. He didn't even get a friggin' snap.
No,
he did not line up as a receiver on any plays.
I was going to say, be careful, Les, because they didn't even give him an offensive snap. They have 3 really good receivers.
That's the thing. He's their returner. That's why he's there. He hasn't been in their offense that long.
Yeah. Right. So that's why I'm setting the over-under at 1.5 targets. Are you going over or under?
playing against his old team, I kind of think they're going to try to, do something with him. I'm going to go over. He might get a couple targets.
Yeah.
I think they might, it's a big deal to him. Teams like to do stuff like that when they have a guy, they want to show that they know how to do this, and the other team didn't. And I wouldn't be shocked if they threw it to him a couple times, but I don't know what their plan really is. It'd be just the Eagles left for him to have a great return against them. Although Michael Clay's special teams units don't get great returns, they usually cover pretty well, but
yeah, they were pretty good. Got him Zach McPherson, special teams player of the week.
Yes.
I was surprised because I thought Dave Bipp would have the advantage. But the Eagles held up pretty well on special teams, not returning, as you mentioned. They can't seem to return a kick, Les.
And I think it's they don't block well on returns. I don't think it's the return people. I think it's mostly they just don't seem to get guys blocked. But whatever.
Yeah.
Les, do me one last favor. If anybody screws with my Wikipedia page, will you just shoot me a text and let me know so I can get that straightened out. Les, great stuff. Thank you very much for coming on with us today. We'll get you back up in a couple of weeks. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Les.